All right. Well, my name is Adam Juratovac, and I'm an attorney over in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a three-time University of Idaho alum, graduating in 2009 with my bachelor's, 2010 with a master's, and 2013 over at the University of Idaho College of Law. Shortly after that, I moved back to California over in the Bay Area and began my legal career. So I always try to come back to Moscow at least once a year. And unfortunately, due to COVID-19, I may not be making it this year, but which is why I'm glad we're able to do things like this. For Tim and Katie, by the way, they are legendary in my book, in my eyes, because those were two individuals who really opened up student activities on campus for me, especially when it came to inclusion. When I first met them, they were introduced to me by Marie Fabricius, or Marie Duncan, and they were the advisors of the Student Alumni Relations Board, which is an 89-member organization that is filled with students who put on over 100 events at the university every single year. And one of the main events that we used to put on, and one of my favorite events, was the Easter egg hunt, as well as the fireworks show. So that's where we all were able to start meeting each other and start working together. And thankfully, I just ended up being on campus for many more years than a normal student spends there. So we really got to get to know each other very intimately too.
Yeah. Adam, talk about your recruitment story, how you got to Idaho.
Well, that's okay. Well, that sounds like something that, it started in 2004. Where I was growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was playing football and I wrestled in high school, and I actually had the opportunity to get recruited to play football at the college level. I remember being recruited to the University of Idaho by another Vandal legend, Joel Thomas, who he was the running back on the 1998 Humanitarian Bowl team, and he's most known for both his antics at the corner club and scoring the 2-point conversion over Boise State in 1998. So he was one of the people who ended up recruiting me up here. I took a couple official visits to check out other football programs, but after visiting Idaho, because Idaho was my last official recruiting visit, I really just enjoyed the family feel of Moscow. I enjoyed the College of Business and Economics, because at that point in time, it was an almost nearly new building, as well as the IVC curriculum that they had was more of a case study type educational learning experience, which has become very useful for me, especially when you're having to build a lot of different business tools just throughout your everyday life. We already built those for the first time when we were in business school over there. And I think, who was the person who I met over there? I think it was Mario Reyes. So Mario Reyes and I had a nice hour-and-a-half conversation when I was a high school student. And, that's what really sold it. The coaching at the time I really enjoyed. So it was the school environment in Moscow generally, as well as the business school. And that's what really drove me to go to the U of I. And 8 years later, I'm very happy with my decision. After spending 8 years in Moscow, I'm very happy with my decision to go over there.
Yeah.
One of the difficulties was going to a university so far away from home. And I know that the University of Idaho was about 4 different states away from where I ended up growing up. But anytime I always brought that argument up, my brother would say, I'm going to school in Philadelphia. So however far away you think you are, I'm multiply that by 3, and then that's how far I am. So it was really nice being able to have a brother going through the same experience about going out of state for school, which really normalized it for me. And the one good thing that I was able to bring to Moscow from home was Korean barbecue short ribs, because thankfully enough, those things froze well and then shipped well too. So it made it for a really easy transition.
I remember us talking about the difference between what you could get at home and then what you could get at Loco. Loco Grinds.
Loco Grinds, the local Hawaiian spot. Yeah. The difference is what was at Loco Grinds did not have a mother's love in there.
Yeah.
And you know, surprisingly enough, for being a Hawaiian plate lunch, it was not as much food as my mom gave me either.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Since I've been nostalgic about sports lately, Adam, and stumbled upon a YouTube video for the last 10 minutes of the 2009 H Bowl. I watched it 3 times. Just saying.
I've seen that.
What do you remember about that last 10 minutes of that game?
So I think I know what video you're talking about too, because it was like the last 10 minutes. It was the last 10 game minutes of the actual Humanitarian Bowl, where they cut out all the timeouts, they cut out all the commercial breaks and everything else. So it was actually like real football. Well, it depends on how many people I want to throw under the bus. But I remember the offense playing very well during that game, and you know, I remember a gentleman named Freddie Barnes, who was the receiver of Bowling Green State University, who actually still has the NCAA all-time record for most receptions in a season. And he broke that record while playing in the Humanitarian Bowl. I believe he had like 15 plus catches in one game. But I will say, like, so we, you know, whenever we had just had our 10-year Humanitarian Bowl reunion last year, so we were able to air out all our grievances at that time. But one thing that I really remember is, you know, being on the sideline after we just scored, and it was, I believe, 35-35. And right when that point happened, I remember grabbing one of those big whiteboards that we have on the sideline, so the coaches are able to like share plays on them. And I wrote in big bold words, "You gotta believe."
Yes.
The big B, big E, B-E-I-L-I-E-V. You shouldn't have made me. I brought that on myself. I spelled it right during the game. All the photographic evidence shows that. My brother actually. Yeah, Barbara?
I remember that.
Really?
Yes.
Gosh. Yeah, I remember being really in the moment at that time and really thinking that we were going to pull it out. No matter how many times we were behind during the game, no matter how many big plays we ended up giving up, the offense always found a way to get us back in it and score. So very shortly after I had that sign up, then the Bowling Green State Falcons scored another touchdown, so we had to get back on the field and really put the pedal to the metal. But that's actually the instance I think about most is, you know, standing up on the bench with a big whiteboard hanging over my head with a sign that says "Believe," and all of a sudden I hear one guy in the fans, and this is one guy in the stands, and this is after we just got done celebrating. I think Bowling Green just had a big play. And he just starts yelling in a big, loud, growly voice, "Believe!" They say believe! And then the crowd just started going wild at that time. And 5 minutes later, gosh, I'm glad the game turned out the way it did, because if it didn't, I would still probably remember that one time, but with just different sentiments.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Thanks, Adam.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit, you moved right after law school. Do you need a minute?
Yeah. You know how I told you it's 95 degrees or 100 degrees? It's still 95 degrees right now. So I'm thankful that I have a window, but it's just a little bit better closed.
You mentioned after law school, you moved back to Palo Alto. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Talk to us about the time where you were coaching and Athletes LTD and that time in your life. Like, you kind of really got into social media and kind of working in the influencer game and you're a multitasker anyway. So it didn't surprise me when you're doing all of these things, but kind of how they all fit together.
Yeah, I remember when I first moved back, when I first moved back, you take the bar exam at the end of July, typically, and then you have around 4 months, you have around 4 months to sit around and wait for your bar results. So during that time, I remember a website called Bleacher Report really hitting it hard. Bleacher Report was a sports website that ended up being an aggregator of every single independent blog that was being created by individuals at that time. And because Bleacher Report was able to aggregate all that types of content, they were able to package it up and sell it for a lot of money. But one good thing that they were able to do was they were able to connect a lot of different people in little subsections and subgroups in the country to share information about teams that might not get as much national press. So I remember there being, access to a lot of different sports. They featured the Arena Football League, which I was a part of the Arena Football League for a few years. So that's where I really started getting into it. And then I started really looking what the nuts and bolts were behind Bleacher Report. And then I thought, I could do this. I can make this myself. If all you need is access to professional athletes writing great content in order to get attention and eyeballs onto a particular website, then that's something that we can do. So I ended up starting a sports site called Athletes LTD. It stands for Athletes Living the Dream. And we ended up actually having over 100 professional athlete contributors on that website. It had some success. We were able to monetize some parts of it, but ultimately where it fell short was the fact that the person who started it was too busy wanting to become a lawyer and did not want to be an entrepreneur in the sports industry. Mm-hmm. So I started focusing more on law at that point and started really taking away the little bits and pieces that I saw were really popular on Athletes LTD, such as the professional development for student athletes, teaching athletes life skills, teaching people how to utilize digital media and social media in a productive way that can benefit their post-athletic careers. It's with that, those goals in mind is where I took the previous 2.5, 3 years I was working on Athletes LTD and really picked out what I learned most that would benefit me in my career. And then I started packaging that together and I started sharing that with student athletes, college days and high school aged around the country. I know my brother's show it's on Netflix called Last Chance U, which is a documentary that highlights a junior college that's the whole team is consisting of Division I football players who got kicked out of college for any number of reasons, and then they're back in the junior college level trying to clean their name up, play great football, and get their college degrees at a different university. So I remember in 2017, Jason Martin, one of my old teammates, he was the defensive coordinator for Independence Community College over at Independence, Kansas. And he was following the work that I was completing over at Athletes LTD for a couple of years. And as soon as this Vandal locked in a deal with Netflix and knew that his university would be used, or his junior college would be used as the next location for Last Chance U, he called me up on the phone and said, "Hey, Adam, I need you here right now." I remember that phone call because I was walking from the train in San Francisco to downtown, which is about a 1.5 mile walk, and it was a warm day as well. So I was already sweating, and my buddy Jason Jamar, as I call him, he called me on the phone and said, "Hey, we need you here. We're about to be on Netflix." And he started telling me about the other speakers that they had set up, which was Freeway Rick Ross, which is the actual drug dealer Rick Ross, not the rapper. And they had another individual who I can't recall his name right now. But that's just one of the examples of how, I was able to take Athletes LTD and, really take the principle of why I created that and why I spent so much time building it, and to share that knowledge and share that information in much more dispensable mediums. So I can give away a lot of information and a lot of that type of expertise in 2-hour presentation or a 2-hour lecture, as opposed to having to spend 24/7 on it trying to continue to make sure eyeballs get to look at it. So
Adam, is that still a,
yeah.
do you still have like a book? Is there a book on Amazon that I saw?
Yeah, so there's a book on Amazon. I believe it's in the Library of Congress too. I don't know if I sent it out yet, but I know that they wanted it, which was kind of cool. I think in 2017, I wrote a book called Student Athletes and Social Media, which teaches student athletes how to leverage social media to create the ideal student athlete image brand online to benefit their professional careers. And one cool thing about that is, you know, I still get orders for those things. I still sell books on that, which is nice because people are using it. Even in 2020, the information is still relevant. And it's actually being used at several universities right now. So I think I'm talking to a couple local high schools in order to give those speeches to those students as well. Because, you know, now with fall sports being canceled in most of California, they need their student athletes to stay focused and stand like, ooh, hey, sorry. I'm starting to see people's faces pop up, and it's like blast from the past. We have a former AD over here too, so I'm very excited about that. So yeah, student athletes and social media is used in a couple universities as well, and you know, I know there's going to be a version 2 coming out pretty soon as I can get some time.
Oh, good.
That's awesome. As soon as you get some time, right? Let's stay on social media for a second. Adam, you're quite the TikTok user.
You know, some people would call me TikTok famous, but actually I called myself TikTok famous when I still had 50 followers. So that's
but you're using it in a way. I mean, it's like the few that I've seen, you're like in the break of a workout, just dropping some knowledge about, you know, California work laws.
You know what? The fact that you said that is perfect because that's the exact brand I want on there. That's the exact image I want. It's you know, so I started getting TikTok is a new social media app that has been all over the news as of late, partially because there are many accusations about China taking a lot of data from its users and then storing them overseas, which I highly believe is happening. But I actually first got on TikTok back in December of 2019, but I was only looking at all the videos. I was trying to learn some of the dances on my own. But it wasn't until I started seeing a big community of doctors on TikTok, because there's a lot of doctors who are sharing medical information, just general legal medical information. And then I started seeing some attorneys hopping on there as well. Now, back in December and January, a lot of the content that people were creating were, well, I wouldn't do it, you know. There was people who were just, I don't want to say, there's a lot of personal injury attorneys who are creating advertisements of what to do when you got hit by a car or you got into a car accident. And it started seeming that that was a lot of the likes that attorneys were trying to get, and attorneys were trying to appease the audience that way. So that's when I started thinking. I was like, in January, I was like, okay, I'm going to start making TikToks about employment law. Because in January, I just started working at this employment law firm over in Campbell, California. And I was having to learn my basics over again, as well as just, you know, to go really deep in the silos of different types of case law and different California employment law. So I just started sharing what I was learning in real time. And, you know, when things start getting busier, that's when the only time you really have to share things are when you're in the middle of a workout. So you're in the middle of a workout at 6:30 in the morning, you start thinking about the cases you're working on, and then you have a really good tidbit that's, you know, would have been helpful for your client at that time. You know, for example, a lot of people don't know that in the state of California, you have the right to request your personnel file after you're terminated. Typically, people think that once you're terminated, you cannot go back to your employer anymore, and you will not have a good relationship with them. That's quite the contrary. Your employer is required to keep your records for 3 years. And for those 3 years, they need to provide you with your personnel file, timesheets, and other different documents if you request it. Now, could those things be useful in potential litigation? Absolutely. But if my employer is taking screenshots of my personal Facebook account and putting them in my file, I would like to know that too. So I ended up just making a lot of TikTok videos, especially once the shelter in place hit and COVID-19 started coming full force in March. The shelter in place took effect. And fortunately for me, I was an essential worker at that time. So I still had to come to the office every day. And I'd like to say, I don't know if any of y'all know about Bay Area traffic, but it was really nice in March, April, and May, because it was only essential workers on the road, and it was a typical commute for me would have been 45 minutes to 55 minutes. And during that time, it took 25 minutes. So I went 20 miles in 20 minutes. It was just like I was back in Idaho. So then I remember there's times I made 30 TikTok videos in one session. And I think that was a little too much, but everyone really got a little weird during quarantine and shelter in place. Yeah, I think I aggregated it after 7 months, and I made over 1,200 videos in 7 months, and a majority of them were employment law related videos.
Yeah.
So,
have those videos led to any business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really nice actually, because when you're sharing all that types of information with the general public, you're going to receive a lot of inquiries and a lot of people wondering about the one step ahead of that question, the one step further into the analysis. There have been a lot of people who have been able to just provide additional general legal information to, but I remember the first time I received a client who paid for a consultation on TikTok, and it was about a week and a half after I started it. It was just a really cool feeling to get that client in the door and be able to help them with their employment problem. But like I said, like Katie said earlier, a lot of my videos right now are me on a run, and then taking a video. It's late night or a weekend. So I think the viewership understands that I'm not just giving legal advice to get clients, and it's more that I'm providing this general legal information to keep the public more informed on their rights. And I think that's actually what's going to help me out in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. That's so good. That's awesome. Great. Good work. Yeah. I'm following you. Sandy's following you apparently on TikTok. Larson. She just said she loves your presence. What do you call them? TikToks? You just call them TikToks?
Well, hey, welcome to today's lunch break salad shake. Yeah, that's just for you, Sandy.
I was just asking. I told Tim to ask you what your favorite salad was.
So far, there's only been one salad that's received a 10 and a couple 9s. But I'm always a sucker for a Caesar salad, so those usually get a little higher rating, or like a Tex-Mex salad.
They're awesome.
Sandy, is there background on that question?
No, he had go through his TikToks. He has how many, Adam? 20?
Episode 21 as of today. And the only reason I filmed that is because you called it out.
Oh, I hadn't seen it yet. Go through his TikToks, Katie. He gives a breakdown on all the salads that he eats. Yeah,
it's like it's one of the things where I do. It's like when I'm at lunch, it's the time where I work with a lot of older attorneys. So when I'm out at lunch, it's the time where I'm able to spend by myself on my phone, and I make it's called a lunch break salad shake. It even has its own hashtag and everything. And I think if you look at it, the hashtag has around 500,000 views on it, on just 20 different salad ratings.
Congratulations.
It's awesome.
If you're going to be known for something, I think it should be that.
And everyone needs another salad in their life,
Yeah.
It's never bad. So one good thing now we're talking about TikTok is, I was able to, because I created so many different employment law related videos, I was able to make each one of those videos into a separate blog post too. So they're able to share them in multiple different places. And I call that just sending it down the river. So if you create one article, if you create one thing, you should be able to repurpose it and repackage it in 10 different ways. So that way you don't have to spend all the time making a new piece of content every single day. So that's one thing I learned from the Athletes LTD days.
That's some good knowledge that I will need to employ in my content creation strategy. Let's talk about law school just a little bit since we're there. I don't know.
Sorry, Maureen Taylor. She's on there. Yeah, that's why I saw his face pop on the screen. There you go.
You worked at the low-income taxpayer clinic during law school, correct? Thank you.
Yeah.
Fact check. What kind of, what did that teach you? What did that experience teach you? You already kind of have a heart for serving others. And I'm wondering what you learned from that experience.
So I was part of the low income taxpayer clinic. I actually had a tax, it was helpful. I was able to learn how to handle clients and handle a big caseload. I know that at that time I had around like 9 to 11 clients at a time. And you really just had to work diligently in order to keep those cases moving forward. Thankfully, my background was in accounting, and my master's is in accountancy with a tax emphasis. So I knew the law generally, but really being a part of the tax clinic taught me the other skills that you needed to work in the law practice. Including extensive documentation, negotiations with the other side or the other parties, and really just trying to find resolutions to these problems. During that time, while I was working at the tax clinic, I also worked, 30 hours a week, 20 to 30 hours a week at the Ada County Highway District as a law clerk underneath their general counsel. And, being over there, that taught me a lot, especially about writing. The importance of writing, because a lot of what lawyering is just a lot of words. There's a lot of words that mean a lot of different things. So words matter. And, having to juggle both the tax clinic, clerking at the Ada County Highway District, and I think in the first 3.5 or 4 months of 2013, I was also clerking for the Senate Majority Leader in the Idaho legislature. And it was a nice balancing act, especially when your clients are all over Boise. But it was really nice to learn that time management skills, as well as trying to make all your bosses happy at the same time. That's always a good one. By the way, I have a nice Idaho Vandals mug. I have to give a shout out to my dad for that one. After the Super Bowl, he ended up purchasing me like another Idaho Vandals water pitcher and a couple pint glasses. So I had to bring it to work, right?
Yes, you did. It adds to the collection. I know you couldn't have showed your office before, but you've got quite the collection of Vandal memorabilia.
Thank you. And this is one of the things I'm proud of too. It's a piece of the Kibbe Dome turf from 2006. Brian Royster, he's one of the boosters of the Vandal Scholarship Fund. He actually gave it to me after I graduated from law school. I do have some SARB stuff too, but that's over in my TikTok room in the man cave.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions, but Tim, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. So Adam, when you were at Idaho, there were some coaching changes that happened while you were there. Can you talk a little bit about how you adapted to different coaches, different philosophies, and then how you've applied those lessons that you learned to life?
Yeah, excuse me. When I was at the University of Idaho, I played for 3 different head coaches. One of them was Nick Holt, one of them was Dennis Erickson, and the third was Rob Akey. Now, those 3 coaches all have 3 very different coaching styles. But one positive thing about those coaches is, the hardest time I find with managing or managers or being managed is if a coach does not talk to you or they don't choose to communicate with you. because then you won't know any of the expectations that they have. You know, you won't know what they expect. You don't know what they want. You don't know what you're doing wrong. The good thing about those three coaches, as well as my position coaches at that time, is they all loved to yell at me. And that was one thing I really, I don't know if I enjoyed it at the time, but I definitely it didn't affect me, because you knew that what they were saying was for the sole purpose of trying to accomplish a mission or accomplish a goal. And when you have that backing, where you know that this is what they're telling me is not to hurt me, it's to help benefit me and benefit the team, and that's something that really gets reinforced over and over and over again in your day-to-day practices. And one thing I feel, and I've been thinking about this too a lot, is, you know, when I was at the University of Idaho for playing football there from 2005 to 2009, is in 5 seasons, we had 4 losing seasons, and we just had 1 winning one. Now, the positive part about that is no one wants to talk about the losing ones except for me, but the good thing that I took out of it was you're able to see, if you trust a certain process over a certain period of time, that eventually you'll keep on digging, and eventually you'll get to the point that you want to get to. And especially when that point takes 5 years. You know, sometimes it takes 5, like in the football setting, it took 5. I know that in the lawyer setting, for me to get to where I want to be professionally and in my knowledge in the law and litigation, it's probably going to take 10 to 20. But the fact that I spent 5 years working on one thing just to get one big successful season, is that made it really easy for me to, in the law practice the law. 5 years isn't nothing. At the end of 5 years, then I might win something, and then I could wait another 5 years and win another thing. But in reality, there are a lot more smaller wins that you can bank off of and really hang your hat on to help you get to that next day, you know? And one good thing is, no matter how bad my managers are currently here, or generally in my legal profession, or in the future, or people I have to work with, the one joke I always say is, you know, you're not that bad. At least you haven't swung at me yet. So when the barrier is a person swinging at you, like, everything else is kind of gravy. I just see Marie shaking her head.
Timmy, do you have more questions from the viewers?
No, we've just got a few minutes left with Adam, so if you want to, anybody has questions, we can go ahead and ask. Or Katie, I'm sure I know you have more to ask, so.
Always.
I have a question. This is Maureen.
Hey, Maureen.
Hi, Adam. It's so good to see you.
You too.
See if you can remember this. Summer school, you went into Coach Akey's office and you were going to do an accounting internship. And he wasn't real. Yeah, I'll be careful. He wasn't real receptive to it because you wouldn't be staying during the summer. You know, you're going off somewhere to do it. And I remember you came marching down to my office, and you persevered and you got it. And Coach Akey saw the light, and I knew you were going to be a big success, and no matter what you did after that.
I really appreciate you saying that, Maureen. That's one of the times I remember too, and I'm sure everyone in my family does. At that point in time, I remember, I just got an internship over at a CPA firm in San Francisco, right before my 5th year, right before going into continuing my master's program. And yeah, I remember there were some ultimatums and there were some other words said. And, you know, I actually had a really good conversation with Mahmoud Sheikh about this a couple years ago too. And, you know, the good guys always win, but I actually saw Coach Akey a couple years ago over at the Senior Bowl, and I have a picture of that too. See, I was planning on putting a lot of pictures on this iPad and just showing them like a proud grandma, but yeah, I do remember marching into your office because you were the person with the power.
I don't know about that, but I was supportive of and it worked out good. So I was happy. I was happy you persevered.
you were an academic oriented person, and that's something that definitely shined through. So, and that's, you know, with that, taking that internship, I remember the obstacles I had in front of me of commuting from Palo Alto to San Francisco every single day. But thankfully, I was in my hometown, so I actually got a key to our high school football facility, and I was working out from 7 to 9:30 p.m. every single night just to make sure that when I got back to camp, that I'd be ready and in football shape to compete. And I'm going to say that if you do not show up to camp, if you not show up to summer workouts, there is added pressure on you generally, but there's also added pressure from the other teammates who saw their other buddies working out all summer and trying to progress with them. Mm-hmm. So I remember during that fall camp, there's a lot of fighting as in like a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? When you start accomplishing stuff and you gotta keep on pressing on. I remember when I received I was told I was the starter after that fall camp. That was one accomplishment I was very, very proud of because I was not expecting that to happen. So I'm thankful I was able to do both. I promised you, Maureen, I'd be able to do both, and then I did it.
I knew it. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. I remember that as well. That decision and that pressure weighed heavily on Adam, and I think we all gave him the same advice.
Yep.
And glad that you followed your heart, Adam, and that's I think why we all love you.
Yeah.
Maybe that set you up for having to go to the dean of the law school. You were right to start law school.
Oh yeah.
But you were playing in the national championship for the Shock, and you said, how do I do this, Barbara? And you convinced him that you could do both. And I didn't know if he'd let you do that or not, because otherwise you would have had to wait a whole year to get into law school. But
Yep.
you convinced him you would do the Shock stuff certain days of that week and
Yep.
law school the other days, and you proved to him that you could do it. He was very impressed.
Absolutely. It was, you know, I think what Barbara's referring to is that I was playing for the Spokane Shock for the 2013 football season, and the week of the Arena Bowl 23 World Championships was the same week as law school orientation. And the rule was if you missed any day of law school orientation, you were unable to enroll in law school that year. So they gave me another ultimatum, and I went along with my heart. Realistically, my mom and dad were very supportive. They said, there's no option here. If this law dean is really going to not allow you to start law school for a world championship football game, then you'll just go to a different, you'll cross that bridge when you get there. But now that we mentioned it like that, I guess I've been used to calling people's bluffs, I guess, or just knowing that. I think I like Tim's response better, is I like following my heart instead of what might be the easiest route to go.
When you won that game then, that world championship, and you were interviewed on TV, just like the sports guy goes up and said, now that you've won the championship, what are you going to do? You know, everybody says they're going to Disneyland. You said, just a minute, you set your helmet on the ground. We were down there on the main the field, and you pulled up your Shock jersey, and underneath it you had your Idaho shirt, and you said, I'm going to law school at the University of Idaho.
I remember that. I forgot about that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do now.
Tim Adams at Channel 6 did that. I went up to him afterwards and I said, you've got to put that on the 11 o'clock news. And then we drove like crazy to get back to our lake house and turn on the TV so we could see it. And he did put it on.
God, I'm going to try and find that. I'm going to try and find that clip.
Please. Yeah. I just wrote him down. You said Tim Adams?
Sam Adams.
Sam Adams, yeah.
Sam Adams. He's at Channel 6, Q6 in Spokane.
August 23rd, 2010. I already know the date.
Yes, the day after my birthday. I remember. That was a great celebration. Yes.
Man, that was an awesome time.
You'd always, just certain people got to get on the field, and you always made sure we could get on the field.
Yeah, I think I saw you hopping over that fence too.
Yes. That was fun.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that story, Barbara. That's awesome.
I forgot about that. Wow.
Oh,
Adam,
I did.
Adam, I have one more question, maybe to wrap up, or we can leave it open for a little while longer. I'll leave that to Tim. But what are your thoughts on that cliche of the Alumni Network post-graduation? I mean, do you have it? You mentioned a story with a fellow team player who was at the community college with the Netflix story. You're in California. We have quite a few Vandals there, but do you agree with the cliche?
I really do. You know, I believe that, you know, someone's power can be found through certain connections that they do have. And, you know, a lot of the connections people really make is through university and through school. There are a bunch of Vandals over in Northern California. I know Samantha Storm, she was over in Sacramento for many years. I believe she just moved back to Boise. Megan Reyes, Mario Reyes' daughter, I talked to her recently as well. You know, and the good thing is whenever any of those people call or whenever any of those people text, you always text back and you always answer the phone call. I know that if I ever receive an email from an Idaho Vandal grad, I always email them back even if I'm unable to help them out. I know that there were a few student athletes several years ago who were interested in moving to the Bay Area, and I just connected them to some of the groups I knew to be able to find the information they needed. I think it was on like housing. But I'm really starting to see that your college network can really be an asset and a resource. And, you know, one thing I do think about frequently is how lucky I am to be able to go to a place like Moscow, Idaho, or Boise, or just northern Idaho generally, and how it's close. It's very close, and once I get there, it's just a super familiar place that is, you know, not easy to get to for the average bear, but that's a good thing because then that means it's still going to be less crowded and more pure. That's one thing I'm really excited for. Like sometimes I think, would I have a better network had I gone to school here? Absolutely. But then where would I go in the fall when the leaves are changing orange? Not to UCLA, not to Westwood. So that's what, yes, I do agree that your network is important. And, you know, and anytime there's a Vandal grad in the area, I always open up my doors to them. Like Barbara and Dick came by and visited a few years ago. They visited my parents. So they're just driving down the 101 and came and stopped by. So
that was fun. That was fun.
That was fun.
They're both on the call?
I know my dad was on the last call. I'm not sure if he's on this one. Oh. But I'll make sure I send it to him. Oh, there's my brother popping on.
Yeah, Dad's on the call. We're on a three-way call. Had some technical difficulties to join at the beginning. So yeah, he's on. He's in listen-only mode.
All right, cool. Yeah, the last Zoom meeting got Zoom bombed by a whole bunch of internet degenerates. So
yes, that's a good name for him. So, Adam, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We will share this out, so it's been recorded, so people can watch it at their leisure, and then we might post some of the videos that the last 10 minutes, and then the Sam Adams story we'll push out as well. So Katie, that's your assignment. But Adam, thank you very much. I'd ask you to sing the fight song, but I've heard you sing it, and you're good. If you can do it, if you want to. If you want to,
absolutely will. First, I want to give a shout out to the Vandal Business Directory. If you are a small business owner or a business owner anywhere in the country, go to www.uidaho.edu/business directory. That way you can get your business and your name published to other people who are interested in working with other Vandal alum. I just want to give that a shout out real quick. But this is my favorite part. Came a tribe from the north and bold. Wearing banners of silver and gold. Tried and true to subdue all their foes. Go Vandals, mighty Vandals, come on and go, Vandals, go. Vandal with hearts brave and bold. For your silver and you, I, victory, cannot be without me. So all the down for Idaho, I-D-A-H-O, Idaho, the victory cannot be withheld from thee. So all bear down for Idaho. Come on, Vandals, go. Came a tribe from the north. Let's go.